Hello, incredible viewers. You're in for a jaw-dropping story today, one filled with deception, betrayal, and the ultimate fight for justice. Meet Sophia Harris, a razor-sharp private investigator who wakes up from a life-altering accident to find that everything, her identity, her career, even her loved ones, has been stolen. And the mastermind? Her own twin sister. But what no one sees coming is that Sophia has always been one step ahead. Armed with intelligence, strategy, and an unbreakable will, she's about to take back what's hers, and make those who betrayed her regret they ever underestimated her. Stay tuned, because this thrilling ride is about to begin. Sophia Harris had always been a woman of determination, building a reputation as one of the most skilled private investigators specializing in fraud and identity theft. Her agency thrived on trust, precision, and an unwavering commitment to justice. Sophia had it all: her successful career, a devoted fiancé named James, and a promising future ahead. But one rainy night, her life took an unexpected turn. After investigating a high-profile financial fraud case, Sophia was involved in a horrific car accident that left her in a coma. Trapped in her own body. Unbeknownst to her, her identical twin sister Clara, who had always felt overshadowed by Sophia's success, saw the accident as her opportunity. With Sophia unconscious and unable to speak, Clara slowly began to infiltrate her life. Using her sister's identity, Clara started to manage Sophia's law firm, pretending to be her in front of clients and even seducing James, Sophia's fiancé. What Clara didn't realize was that Sophia had anticipated betrayal from a young age and had taken precautions to protect herself. Hidden away in the basement of her home were critical files, evidence of Clara's fraudulent activities from years before, including an embezzlement scheme that had been quietly brushed aside. As Sophia floated in her comatose state, she could hear everything around her. She couldn't speak, couldn't move, but she could feel the weight of Clara's deception. Yet, Sophia knew it was only a matter of time before she would find a way to reclaim her life. This was a fight she would not lose. And the moment Clara least expected it, Sophia would emerge victorious. As the weeks passed, Sophia's awareness grew, though she remained physically immobilized. She could hear everything, whispers of conversations between doctors, family, and Clara. But there was one voice she never expected to hear. Clara's voice, so confident and manipulative, became a constant presence in her world. At first, Sophia believed it was a product of her isolation. But soon she realized the truth. Clara had started living her life. Clara accessed Sophia's bank accounts, using her credit cards, and even began attending Sophia's meetings with her clients, pretending to be her. Sophia's heart ached with the realization that her sister, the one person she had trusted most, was stealing her identity. It was small at first, temporary decisions about bills, adjusting work schedules, but it quickly escalated. The breaking point came when Sophia overheard Clara speaking to their mother, telling her, "I've agreed to take over Rebecca's clients. It's temporary, just until she recovers." The lie hung in the air, stinging like a slap. Rebecca was the name Clara had used for years. But now, hearing it spoken in this context made Sophia realize the full scale of Clara's betrayal. Sophia couldn't speak, couldn't react, but her mind raced. She realized that not only was Clara taking over her life, but she was doing so without the slightest regard for the damage she was causing. But it wasn't just the financial theft or the impersonation that stung, it was the emotional betrayal. Mark, her fiancé, began visiting the hospital, but his intentions became clearer with each passing week. The visits became less about Sophia and more about Clara. One evening, Sophia heard Mark's voice, tinged with admiration as he spoke to Clara. "You even laugh like her. It's uncanny." The words cut through the quiet darkness like a dagger. Mark, the man who had promised to love her forever, was now falling for her twin sister, who had been impersonating her all along. It was the ultimate betrayal. At that moment, Sophia realized that everything she had built, the law firm, her personal life, her relationship with Mark, was slipping away. All because Clara had decided that becoming her sister was the only way to escape her own failures. But what Clara didn't know was that Sophia had always been a step ahead. As a private investigator, Sophia knew how to protect herself. And she had done just that. Creating backups, hiding crucial documents, and preparing for the day when she would need to fight back. Lisa, Sophia's dedicated night nurse, was the first to notice the subtle changes in Sophia's vitals when certain words were spoken. Her heart rate would spike when Mark or Clara's name was mentioned. And the nurse began to suspect something more was happening. One night, when she noticed Sophia's eye twitch, she whispered, "You can hear me, can't you?" With a single blink, Sophia confirmed it. From that moment, Lisa became her lifeline, helping Sophia communicate through a letterboard and supporting her as she began to piece together the full extent of Clara's deception. As Lisa found Sophia's hidden phone, they discovered the backup plan Sophia had carefully constructed. The phone unlocked the secrets hidden behind the walls of Sophia's house. Secrets Clara would never find. This was just the beginning. Sophia had the evidence, and she was about to take back everything Clara had stolen. As the weeks passed, Sophia's understanding of her sister's deception deepened. Clara's manipulation was not just limited to impersonating Sophia for personal gain, it had become a systematic effort to erase Sophia from her own life. Clara accessed every aspect of Sophia's identity, her bank accounts, her business, her relationships. The fraud was becoming more brazen as she used Sophia's credit cards for extravagant purchases, throwing parties in Sophia's name, and even attending meetings with clients, all while pretending to be the successful investigator everyone had known her to be. Each day that passed in the coma, Sophia felt her world slipping further from her grasp. She could hear Clara, fully integrated into her life, giving speeches about the temporary nature of her role, pretending it was all just a placeholder until Sophia woke up. But the lies were beginning to pile up. Clara, not satisfied with merely living in Sophia's shadow, had begun making decisions that would impact Sophia's hard-earned career. It wasn't just about her financial resources anymore, it was about taking over her sister's life. Mark, the man Sophia had been planning to marry, was another casualty of Clara's deception. Sophia overheard him on several occasions, seemingly confused by the way Clara spoke and acted differently from Sophia. Yet, each time, he dismissed his suspicions, further entrenching himself in Clara's lies. His visits to Sophia's bedside became fewer as Clara grew more confident in taking his place in her life. Sophia, trapped in her own silence, could do nothing but listen as Clara slowly stole away everything she had built. The worst was yet to come. However, as time went on, Clara's attempts to maintain the illusion of being Sophia became more reckless. Sophia's instincts as a private investigator had taught her to always be prepared for betrayal. And she had been. Hidden behind a false wall in the basement was a trove of evidence, recordings of Clara's embezzlement, documents of financial misconduct from her days at the investment firm, and even proof of her attempt to cover up her fraudulent activities. Clara's biggest mistake, Sophia realized, was not checking the basement. It was her sister's one weakness, a fear of dark, enclosed spaces that kept her from exploring the hidden corners of their shared home. Sophia had always known that one day, Clara might try something desperate, but Clara's arrogance had kept her from ever considering that Sophia had prepared for the worst. It was a small but crucial mistake, one that would ultimately seal her fate. With the help of Lisa, the night nurse who had become her only ally, Sophia began to gather the evidence she needed to take action. Lisa was the first to recognize Sophia's subtle movements and forced blinks. Realizing that Sophia could hear everything and could communicate in limited ways, Lisa, in turn, became instrumental in uncovering Clara's betrayal, using the hidden phone that Sophia had kept, and ultimately following her instructions to access the security camera feeds. The feeds revealed Clara lounging in Sophia's home, wearing her clothes, drinking her wine, and living the life that should have belonged to Sophia. But there was more to discover. As Lisa accessed the hidden footage from the basement, she uncovered the full scale of the crime, a safe, carefully locked and secured, filled with evidence of Clara's embezzlement, identity theft, and other fraudulent activities. Sophia, despite her immobilized state, felt a quiet satisfaction as she realized her sister's empire of lies was built on nothing more than stolen pieces of her life. The pieces were falling into place. The most important thing Clara hadn't realized was that Sophia had never trusted anyone completely, not even her twin sister. While Clara believed she had pulled off the perfect crime, she had underestimated Sophia's ability to protect herself. The stage was set for the ultimate confrontation, and Sophia was finally ready to make her move. With the evidence now in her grasp, all that was left was to regain control and expose Clara's lies to the world. The time for waiting was over. Sophia's mind, though still trapped in her body, was sharper than ever. As she lay in the hospital bed, her thoughts were methodical and precise, crafting the plan she knew would allow her to take back everything Clara had stolen. She had spent months gathering the evidence and making the necessary preparations. And now that she had the hidden files, the security footage, and crucial documents proving Clara's illegal activities, it was time to execute her strategy. Sophia knew her sister all too well. Clara's biggest weakness was her impatience and her desperate need to succeed where Sophia had always excelled. Clara believed that by simply becoming Sophia, she could escape the consequences of her own reckless behavior. But Sophia was about to prove just how wrong she was. The first part of the plan involved taking control of the narrative. As a private investigator, Sophia had learned how to manage information, how to manipulate perceptions, and how to use people's assumptions to her advantage. She had spent years building a network of contacts, both in law enforcement and in business, all of whom trusted her instincts and skills. She knew that the key to dismantling Clara's deception was to ensure that the right people knew the truth. Detective Ryan, a former colleague and close friend, had been investigating Clara's financial crimes before the accident. Ryan had always respected Sophia's work and had kept tabs on her case, knowing that Clara was involved in some shady dealings. But he never suspected the full extent of the fraud until Sophia began to provide him with the information she'd uncovered. Ryan had already suspected Clara's involvement in a series of financial irregularities. But Sophia knew that Ryan, like most people, would need undeniable proof before taking any action. She'd provided him with a detailed dossier of Clara's actions, the forged documents, the illegal transactions, and the secret offshore accounts Clara had opened under Sophia's name. She had also included the most damning piece of evidence, Clara's connection to the mysterious driver who had crashed into Sophia's car. The car accident wasn't random, it had been orchestrated by Clara and her accomplices. An attempt to eliminate Sophia and take over her life. Sophia made sure to remind Ryan about the importance of timing. The evidence was airtight, but if they acted too quickly, Clara might get scared and flee before the investigation could fully unfold. She knew Clara would likely be expecting something, especially as the situation began to close in on her. But Sophia had anticipated this. She had planned for Clara's every move. The second part of her strategy was about patience. While she had the evidence and the legal backing, Sophia knew she needed to outsmart Clara at every turn. That meant waiting for Clara to make one final mistake, a mistake she knew would come. Because Clara was getting overconfident. Clara had been using Sophia's identity for so long that she thought she had outwitted everyone. But she never considered the one thing that Sophia had over her: preparation. Clara was reckless, and it was only a matter of time before she made a slip-up. While waiting, Sophia focused on building her strength back up. With Lisa's help, she began physical therapy, slowly but surely regaining the ability to move her fingers and blink on command. Every small movement felt like a victory, and Sophia's willpower grew with each passing day. But she wasn't just training her body, she was preparing herself mentally for the confrontation ahead. The final part of the plan involved using Mark, the man who had once promised to love her, as a piece in her strategy. Mark, despite being deceived by Clara, was still loyal to Sophia. He had started to notice the inconsistencies in Clara's behavior and was growing suspicious. Sophia knew that Mark had the potential to be the key player in revealing Clara's deception to the world. He had always been drawn to her intelligence and strength, but he was also deeply invested in the idea of their future together. When Mark began asking questions about the inconsistencies in the past, Sophia knew the time had come to involve him fully. She began sending him subtle messages through At first, Mark was hesitant, but Sophia knew how to make him see the truth. She would present him with the undeniable evidence of Clara's betrayal, footage of Clara with the man who had crashed into her car, emails detailing Clara's fraud, and the confession from the driver himself. She knew that Mark's love for her would be the final catalyst to expose Clara's deception. Everything was in place. The plan was intricate, but it was foolproof. Sophia had prepared for every eventuality, using Clara's weaknesses against her. And now all she had to do was wait for the moment when Clara would expose her true nature. Sophia's strength, patience, and meticulous planning had set the stage for her comeback. She had spent months building the case, anticipating Clara's every move, and preparing to reclaim what was rightfully hers. The time for waiting was over. It was time to confront her sister. And nothing was going to stop her from taking back her life. The day of the confrontation arrived. And Sophia was ready. She had spent months preparing for this moment. And now everything was in motion. Clara, still unaware that her time was running out, had become overconfident, thinking that she had outsmarted everyone. Sophia, with Detective Ryan and Lisa's help, set the final trap. The plan was simple yet precise. Clara would be caught red-handed, trying to steal the last of the hidden documents from Sophia's basement. The key was to let Clara believe that the house and its secrets were still hers to control, just as she had done for months. Sophia, aided by the surveillance footage from her hidden cameras, had seen Clara growing desperate. She had begun searching the basement more frequently, convinced that Sophia had hidden something of great importance. Clara, unable to resist, ventured into the basement with Mark, who had finally come to terms with the betrayal. He was now aware of the full extent of Clara's deception and was ready to help Sophia expose the truth. As they descended into the basement, the lights in the room flickered on, revealing the hidden compartment Sophia had built years ago to safeguard against exactly this kind of betrayal. It was then that Sophia's voice, recorded long ago, echoed through the speakers. "Looking for something?" it asked calmly. And Clara froze, her face draining of color. The monitors around her lit up, showing Clara's every crime, her meetings with the driver who had crashed into Sophia's car, the forged documents, the fraudulent transfers of money, and, most importantly, the stolen moments of Sophia's life. Clara's world began to unravel before her eyes. She reached for her gun, her hand shaking, but it was too late. The police, led by Detective Ryan, were already on their way. And Mark stepped forward, his voice low but firm. "It's over, Clara, you've lost." Clara's desperation reached its peak. But there was no escaping the truth. As the police arrived and Clara was taken away in handcuffs, Sophia finally felt a surge of relief. Her plan had worked. The betrayal had been exposed. And her sister was going to face the consequences of her actions. With Clara's arrest, Sophia was free to reclaim her life, both personally and professionally. She could now rebuild what had been taken from her. And for the first time in months, she felt the weight of the silence lift. With Clara's arrest, Sophia's life began to slowly but surely return to normal. The road to recovery was long, but Sophia's resilience was unmatched. The betrayal she had endured, the months of watching her sister live her life, pretending to be her, had tested her strength. But now, with Clara behind bars and the stolen money frozen in offshore accounts, Sophia was determined to rebuild what she had lost. The authorities quickly moved to recover the funds Clara had embezzled from Sophia's accounts and those she had accessed under her name. It wasn't just about the financial loss, it was about taking back the control Clara had tried to seize. With Detective Ryan's help, all the fraudulent transactions and forged documents Clara had put into motion were exposed. The legal consequences for Clara were swift and severe. Her confession, combined with the extensive evidence Sophia had collected, ensured that Clara faced a lengthy prison sentence. The embezzled funds, which Clara had carefully hidden in offshore accounts, were traced and recovered, a significant portion of which was returned to Sophia's clients. As for the stolen moments of her life, the relationships Clara had ruined, and the career she had nearly destroyed, those things couldn't be restored in the same way. But they were gone, and that was enough. The house that Clara had lived in, the office that she had transformed into her own, were no longer tainted by her deceit. Sophia moved back into her home, but it wasn't the same place it had been before. It was now filled with a renewed sense of peace, a place where she could breathe without the constant reminder of betrayal. The hidden room in the basement, where Clara had searched in vain for evidence, became a symbol of Sophia's foresight. She had always been a step ahead. And it was that careful planning that allowed her to outwit her sister when it mattered most. Mark, who had once been deceived by Clara, tried to reconcile with Sophia. But the damage was done. While his apologies were sincere, Sophia knew that the trust between them had been irrevocably broken. Their relationship was never the same. And though they remained on cordial terms, they both understood that too much had changed. Over time, Sophia regained control of her law practice, which had been temporarily mismanaged under Clara's supervision. Her clients, many of whom had been aware of her disappearance, rallied behind her, eager to see her return to form. Business boomed once again, and with the financial strain of her coma now behind her, Sophia was able to expand her practice into new areas. She began specializing in fraud investigations, using her own story as a cautionary tale. Her work became more personal, helping people who had been victims of identity theft, embezzlement, and other financial crimes. The legal world took notice, and soon she was a sought-after consultant, giving talks about fraud prevention and sharing her own experience in overcoming betrayal. The media coverage surrounding Clara's arrest and Sophia's recovery brought her into the public eye, and she was able to use this platform to advocate for stronger protections against fraud and identity theft. The months following Clara's arrest were filled with healing, both emotionally and physically. Sophia's recovery from her coma was slow but steady, and her doctors marveled at her progress. She could walk again with the aid of physical therapy, and though her body was still recovering, her spirit had never been stronger. Sophia realized that while her journey had been painful, it had also been transformative. She had not only regained her life but had learned valuable lessons about trust, betrayal, and the importance of preparation. The greatest victory, however, was not just in reclaiming her career or her home, it was in the knowledge that she had faced the worst and emerged stronger than ever. As she continued to rebuild, she knew one thing for certain: she would never again underestimate the strength it takes to protect the life you've built. The story teaches the importance of preparation and trust, especially when it comes to protecting what you've worked hard for. Sophia's ability to anticipate betrayal and plan for the worst allowed her to reclaim her life. Despite her twin sister's deceit, it highlights that even when faced with unimaginable situations, resilience, foresight, and careful planning can turn the tide. The lesson is clear: never take your successes for granted, and always be prepared for the unexpected. Because sometimes the greatest strength comes from anticipating challenges before they even arise, especially when those challenges come from those closest to you.